as you take on the mayor's chains, the mayoral chains, you're taking over a metro that's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's quite right. As difficult as it was to get to a point where the multi-party coalition could elect our candidate, it's going to be even more of a challenge to actually address the governance issues in the city, starting with the finances. It's not just the findings of the Auditor General, it's deeper underlying issues. We have to bring Tshwane's spending in line with what we can realistically collect as a city. That means getting more productivity out of our workforce, getting better value for money out of the supply chain management system, and doing all of these things while trying to become less reliant on Eskom, investing in our own energy supply, and making sure that basic services actually improves and doesn't deteriorate. So it is going to be an enormous task, but I'm quite confident that within our team and in the broader society in Tshwane, we can draw from talents in order to overcome these challenges.
Cindy, a lot of people will say, hang on a minute, you're inheriting an administration that is largely comprised of the people who have been in charge before. Randall Abrams was basically the leader of the same coalition you are leading. You're a part of the mess.
Yeah, so Randall Abrams is
Randall Abrams,
guy.
I beg your pardon.
Randall Williams.
Randall Williams.
So Randall Williams is still a councillor. He has indicated that he'll step aside from the mayoral committee. We have to acknowledge that there were mistakes. A very clear promise was made in 2021, and the findings of the Auditor General have been devastating. So it's very important for us to admit those mistakes, but also to admit that bold decisions that should have been made in the past weren't made. Of course, there was also a period for 7 months in 2020 under which Tshwane was placed under administration by the ANC Gauteng government. We entered that period with a budget surplus and exited it with a 4.3 billion rand deficit. Many of the controls that have broken down were broken down in that period. But let's be honest, mistakes were made. And what is important now is to be candid about those mistakes, to be candid about what we've discovered, and to come up with a clear plan of how to address it. Because if we don't put Tshwane's finances on a healthy footing, it will compromise service delivery. In fact, we risk becoming a C-grade metro like Mangaung if very decisive action isn't taken now.
The DSL has been that where it governs, there is effectiveness, there is service delivery. You've admitted to mistakes that have been made in the city of Tshwane that led to the metro being placed under administration in the first instance. But more broadly, the chaos that we have seen unfold in the election of a mayor, in the election of a speaker. You would have heard the last bits of my conversation with Cope and what has unfolded within that party. People are going to look at opposition more broadly and they're going to say, hang on, you are just as ineffectual as the governing party. You're not a real alternative.
So let me just say that the reason the city was placed under administration in 2020 wasn't because of governance failures, but because of political failures. The fact that ANC and EFF councillors collapsed council meetings. That administration decision was later set aside by the court, and I think in retrospect, all I want to say about it is that it did more harm than actually helping to contribute to the issues in the city. But we have to try and return to a measure of normality in council meetings. What I said yesterday after I was elected is that I've sat in opposition benches before. I know the difference between a mayor or a president who listens to the opposition and engages, and one who simply believes that he or she knows best, ignores the opposition and treats all politics as if it were war. I don't want to be that kind of mayor. I do want to work with opposition parties in council, even though we might not want to be in any coalition with the ANC or even the EFF. It is the responsibility of the mayor to listen to the contributions being made by councillors and to take those elected representatives seriously, because they were legitimately elected. And I think it's in everybody's interest that there is proper service delivery, proper accountability. If we don't restore that measure of trust and normality, I think we do risk losing the trust of the people and losing a lot of the legitimacy that is meant to come with a democratically elected government.
Celias Brink, appreciate your time, the newly elected Tshwane Mayor.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.